Well, hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 33. This is our weekly live stream where we discuss music technology, and in today's episode, quite a lot of gear as the holidays approach. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sunwarper, and with me today is Eon Lake. How are you?
I'm okay, buddy. I'm all right. Thanks for asking.
What you been up to?
Well, not so much actually this week.
Okay.
So no rambling. It's been a really difficult time to find time in the studio, is what I will say. I've been listening to some good shows. Shout out to Survey Channel for his Oral Dogma, which I don't know if you've heard it, but it is pretty cool. If you like to go on a nice 2-hour tramadol trip of tunes, I would highly recommend it. And the Enclosure 3 that DJ Space Terrapin does, and Kate's Dark Train as well. You know, if I can't do it, I'm going to listen to somebody else doing it. You know, and it's something I'll come back to later on in the show, actually. But there's the reason I'm mentioning it now. But yeah, I've been listening to other people making music.
Nice. All right.
Have done a little bit myself though. On the move, mobile.
Okay, well let's get to that in a little bit. And also with me today, or with us today, I should say, is my Audionautic co-pilot, Curtis. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I like the way that you say we talk gear because the holidays are coming up, as if that's the excuse, as if we wouldn't just talk about gear.
No, I mean there's a lot of new gear coming out because everyone's trying to meet, Black Friday, Christmas, all that type of stuff. We always talk gear, but yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm good. In a similar fashion to you, I've had a few new installations in the studio. As you can see, perhaps we've got 2 new headstocks just here.
Yeah,
nice.
Brand new bass. Well, not really a brand new bass. Basically, I did up on my bass, and then on this lag as well. So I got them tuned up, restrung, and everything's good on that front. So,
more details, please.
I basically, I took them from a garage back in the UK. Got them all restrung. They were in a sorry state, really sorry state, and just got them done up, and now they're there ready to go. So we're looking at kind of doing. They're both in C, and now everything is complete. And in theory, I know I say this every time, we could be looking at like a full live set kind of thing. Not doorless though. I won't be going doorless.
But using Ableton.
Using Ableton Live, using the Launchpad, that kind of thing, creating a. So what I was doing at the beginning, marooned, but kind of got a bit disenchanted with it. So we'll see. What about you, Sam? What have you been up to?
I've been busy. The desk is quite bare. I've been
clean.
Yeah, well, it's not clean. It's I'm moving everything because this desk is going. This desk that I'm on is going to be going. Everything's going to be going pretty much. I'm doing like a total rebuild. I've got some of the new gear here, but that's just temporary. But I'm stoked. Once I can get everything up, it's going to be a really cool studio. I drew up the plans and have it all meticulously crafted out and all that. So it's just doing it now. That's not going to be fun, but it'll be worth it. And then I just put up a new jam on my YouTube. I've been doing those DiBiase's Diners. It's a Discord challenge for Serato. They're a lot of fun. I just work in the SP, and it's a way to really learn how to make full tracks on the SP using the sampling and things like the pattern. I finally updated the SP, so Eon Lake will be happy. A little late, but it was worth it. And I've got my live stream on Saturday. It's at 11 a.m. Pacific. If anybody wants to come and watch, it's free over on my Bandcamp. 11 a.m. Pacific is when we go live now. It's 11:15. So whatever time it is now for anyone watching, that'll be the time that I'll be playing live on Saturday.
Well, there you go. That's very nice inside, right?
Central Europe, 7 p.m. UK.
Yeah, that sounds about
7
right.
p.m. UK, 8 p.m.
Yeah,
8 p.m. here. 8 p.m. here.
There we go.
Here. Yeah. That is until the clocks decide to do their thing. I mean,
hopefully that's after Saturday.
Or at the mercy.
And we'll change the clocks.
Yeah.
It's that time of the year in Audionautic where everything gets a bit skew-ish because we change, and then over in the States they change. And so for about a week, Sunwarper and I are just a bit like, what the hell is going on? We have
an hour apart, isn't it, for a week or two, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We get a little more separated in time, and it's just a nightmare.
makes me sad inside. That's
Not in
so yeah, but yeah, we've got a lot of gear to talk about this week. Very
Don't
nice.
we?
Should we? Well, this is fair. Should we start with what Eon Lake very nicely teased for us?
I think so, because why wait, right?
Yeah. Why wait?
Yeah.
I'll bring it up. Eon Lake, tell us, what is this?
So I wanted to talk about this because, Sunwarper, as we know, is a massive fan of Ableton. And Curtis is a huge fan of the iOS platform.
You are just speaking completely factual right now.
Nothing but fact. Yes, Ableton Note. I just tripped over this during the week, and it's like, what? You did what? You brought out what? But it is it's like a note-taking app. This is the kind of stuff that I talk about all the time, where I'm looking for things where I can sketch musical ideas on the go, things that I use the black box for, OP1, OPZ, all these other things. But this is really quite useful. It's 8 Great British pounds, whatever they're worth today. I don't know, probably nothing, but 8 of them gets you this, and it's kind of like a stripped down version of Live. You can play certain instruments that are available in it with effects on it that are available in it. The idea being you can sketch out some ideas quite easily, and there's you can either transfer files through the whole iTunes horror.
iCloud, you mean?
Who would
or
do that?
Through
Yeah.
iTunes.
No, then there's the you can send them via Bluetooth, or you can just enable the cloud function on both the app and on your Ableton installation, and it just appears there magically then in your little cloud folder. Anything that you export from the app up into the cloud, like that. There it is. It appears in a little folder in your Ableton window, and you can just open it directly. And it's what you'll see is you won't have any sends and returns, but you will have a load of instrument tracks with effects on them, and it sounds pretty much identical. I've had a little go and accidentally wrote a song.
Not how it always happens.
Yeah. That's a win already. I think I'm going to be using this a lot, basically. It's on my phone and on my iPad. And for actually having some serviceable sounds and some effects that do enough, and being able to actually write something that inspires you and that can sound slightly mangled as well. It doesn't have to sound like some clean out-of-the-box nonsense.
Do you feel like that might be the difference between this and GarageBand? Because I was going to ask you, like, why would you choose this over GarageBand beyond just it being connected to Ableton? But maybe that's it, that it's those synths, right?
Yeah, because I've used GarageBand a bit, and I find it a bit clunky. It's usable, but it is a bit clunky. And then you've got all that hassle of trying to get the files out of it into something else. It's super hard. I've done it. You bounce them down as WAVs, and you can transport them out and whatnot, but it's just a bloody faff, to be able to just do something and then just go to another device and there it is. I mean, you can't beat that. This is what we need, really. You don't want to I do it. I don't want to be messing around with technology in order to do music. I want as frictionless an environment as possible so that I can just get on and do the stuff that I want to do. Gone are the days when I can be bothered to fix things that don't want to work. I'm fed up with it. I just want to make music. And this really helps, it's the chance to do something on the move. Is with a device you've always got with you. I mean, the phones and tablets have been promising this kind of stuff for ages, and I've got a ton of apps installed on mine. I'm sure you have as well, and they're of varying use, but there's always something that holds it back, something limiting. I don't know. I think this one could actually be quite useful for me. I've found it useful so far. And I think convenience is key, really. Obviously, if you don't use Ableton, it's not that convenient, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Curtis, before I switch to you, just really quick, in the chat, we've got Shady Ridge and Hydro Fighter. Both of them are our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. Curtis, you can go on about the patron, but I just wanted to mention they're there. How are you guys doing? And what do you guys what's your take on this Ableton Note? Because I know Hydro Fighter uses it. I think Shady does. Now I'll throw it to you, Curtis.
Well, I mean, I'm on the same vibe as Howard on this one.
Yeah.
The Ableton. I mean, you know how much I love Ableton since I switched from FL. And FL have their own. They have their own mobile app, which is very clunky and it doesn't really compute. But the idea of just walking along it from the advert as well looks like you're working in portrait mode. So it's done for your fingers like this, which is it's very slick and very shiny and very nice and what you need. So and then with the cloud, say it again.
I think you can use it both ways around, but yeah.
Okay, well then they have that plus with the cloud synchronicity. I just need to get an iPhone. I I use an Android, and yeah, but I mean, hey, it's fine. It looks really cool. Hopefully, they'll bring it out on Android. If they don't, I might just have to switch to iOS. It's like the thing.
Not to.
I had the.
It's got to be half the phones out there, hasn't it? I mean, it'd be mad not to.
Yeah, I mean, it looks. I mean, I know it's an advert, but it looks like it really works. And if it is for sketching down ideas and that, I mean, I'm down.
I thought it was like, what the hell at first? It was a little bit. There's some things that are counterintuitive. Like if you're playing notes in, you see them appear on the screen and everything, and then they just disappear. And it's like, well, how do I record this? But it's kind of like sampling what you're doing all the time. And if you like what you did, you can just create clip, and it uses what you typed in to create a clip. And then when you do overdubs on top of that, you can audition stuff. And the notes will appear in a little clip window. You see the notes appear in that. And if you like what you did, you can just say, add to clip, or you can just let them time out and do something else. So I quite liked that workflow as well.
Well,
convenient way of getting an idea and then adding to it.
Keep us updated. I'm sure we'll come back to it in a few weeks. So get down into it, and we'll go from there.
Hydro Fighter says, I'm not really interested in doing music on my phone. That's why I have a laptop. Yeah, but what do you think about if you just want to capture an idea when you're out and about? Maybe that never happens, but that's kind of like what I use GarageBand for. And it sounds like that's kind of the way Howard's Eon Lake is thinking about doing it is, when you just need to take a note down quick.
So right.
I think the best part about it is what Eon Lake was saying is that interconnectivity that it's been promised between phone, computer, things like that. So you can take your music on the go and you have those synths. That's what I think is the best part, is that you have those synths from Ableton that you know and love and you know how to work. Like on GarageBand you have Alchemy, but you don't have a lot of other synths that are in there. Like the FM synth from Logic is one of the ones I always use, and that's not there. So it's nice to have the synths and you can just directly import it into Ableton, no changes whatsoever. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think the fact that that barrier isn't there, I mean, he's absolutely right. Why have a limitation? And using a phone is a pain in the backside. But then again, if it's all you have, and you can just pick it up again on your laptop when you are next in front of it.
Yeah.
You never know when the inspiration strikes, do you?
Use whatever you've got on you at the time, and it's just a convenience.
I think for me as well, like if I'm on the tram or if I'm on a train somewhere going, it's like long journeys, you might read or something like that, but it's better than obviously not doom scrolling or anything like that. And it's like,
I mean, it's not a replacement for Ableton. It's a addition to it where you can now take it portable. That's what I think. If you look at it like that, it's awesome. If you look at it like I'm going to make all my music on it, and I'm sure there's going to be some people that make awesome music just on that, but I think that is less of the enthusiasm. It's more the fact that, hey, this is an extension and it's directly connected, phone to computer. Yeah, Sketchpad. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
But yeah, these kind of conversations, what we have over on our Patreon feed, which is what you do if you are a Patreon. This show is brought to you by our patrons who are in the chat. Hello, thank you very much indeed. If you are enjoying the show and if you're vibing with it, consider becoming a patron. Only starts at $2. And from that, you get behind the scenes footage, you get early access to all our shows. And like you say, we have a Twitter chat, which is just with us, where, we sit and we share these ideas on a daily, weekly basis. It's really cool.
Yeah, if you want to check it out, head to patreon.com/audionautic, and the link is also in the description down below.
Very good. Now, let's move across to the next big boy, or should I say big sky, shall we?
Let's move up to the sky.
Let's move up to the skies. This is here. If I bring this up here so we can see up on here, we have a brand new plugin from Strymon. Now, Strymon, kings of plugins, you might say. That might be putting them on
pedals, not plugins.
Sorry, yes, pedals. Yeah, completely. And let me just find it. And they have just brought out. Here we go. Click to here. they've just brought out a plug-in version of the Big Sky. Now, I know I've got a Big Sky. Sunwarper, you've got a Big Sky, right?
Yep.
And Ian, like, do you have one in the? Probably got one in the studio.
No, but about the
Whoa.
time that I'm looking for a hardware one, they decided to bring out a plug-in.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on this one, and I'm a huge proponent of the Big Sky as a pedal.
Mm.
When do you lead it, Sunwarper?
Well, I believe the cost is $200.
It is $200.
And
yeah.
I think the Big Sky as a pedal is $400, which is quite expensive, but it's worth it for what it does as a pedal. It's got some great amp sims. Yeah, it does all of that. I guess it's the exact same thing, which is awesome. But for $200, I mean, there's free alternatives that we always talk about. That I haven't even touched my Big Sky in over a year because of said alternative that's free and a plugin. So I think 200 misses the mark quite drastically, and I'm sure there's reason for it and stuff, but it just doesn't seem right.
I'm sure it's quality software as well.
Oh, yeah.
I've got every faith in them, and I'm sure their algorithm kicks ass as well. But
yeah, the pedal's incredible. I mean, and this is that on your computer, which is awesome. But I have some concerns.
I've ranted about in the past about. I like software. I love the total recall, the fact that you can bring everything back the way it was. It really helps when you're trying to mix an album or track or do your last overdubs and whatever. You can just bounce between songs and so on. But it really bothers me that I'm tied to software and a certain OS version and a certain this and a certain that. And at some point, it's going to become obsolete. Or since Sunwarper mentioned the awesome Alchemy synth. I used to have Alchemy until they were bought by Apple, and then all of a sudden all their stuff stopped.
Yeah.
A load of good plugins that, all right, you could use them for a bit, but as your OS starts to get upgraded, they become obsolete. You can't use them anymore. And so that's why I started going a little bit more down the hardware route, so that you've got a thing that you could still have in 20 years or something, and it still works and so on. And I think the more things have computers in them, and we start to be reliant on certain operating systems and drivers and things like that, it just means that your money ultimately has got a shelf life, and then you've got to buy something else, or you've got to upgrade, or you've got to do this, and they're not always compatible. Some bits of kit may need you to upgrade, other bits of kit can't upgrade anymore. They don't do any more drum kit drivers for my drum kit, so I can't go beyond a certain level with that. Otherwise, I'll lose compatibility with that. So, yeah, there comes a point where I keep a split between software and hardware because there are benefits to both that we will all understand. But it does worry me a bit that that's why I liked the Big Muff idea, the fact that it's a plug-in, but it's hardware, right? And if all goes wrong and that all this stuff stops being supported and doesn't work anymore, you've still got a pedal, right?
Yeah.
That works, This is what concerns me. I want my stuff to work forever and ever.
Yeah.
Never need to be serviced.
Good luck with that. In the subscription world we live in today, yeah, good luck.
You know what I mean, though.
Oh, yeah. And Curtis, what's your take on this as a Big Sky owner?
Well, in a similar fashion, again with the price, $200. I mean, if I'm going to spend $200 on something, I'm going to buy a synthesizer. I'm going to buy a VST, and I'm going to buy a synthesizer VST as opposed to an effect VST, especially when we've got the beauties of the plugins that we shall not name.
Duper passive?
Exactly.
It rhymes with it, yeah.
It does, yeah. And I as ever with me as well, I wonder about CPU. These high-end, these high-end plugins are, they always eat a lot of CPU. And if you're on a laptop, or if you're on a budget laptop or something like that, or a budget computer or an old computer, it's just, I suppose it's just going to eat you up, and you put it on one effects chain and suddenly you can't do anything else.
I wonder if there's any communication between the pedal and the plugin in a similar vein to the Big Muff that Eon Lake was talking about. I didn't see anything, and I don't think there is. There may come a time, because I believe the Big Sky has MIDI and USB, does it not?
It does, yeah. It does, yeah. So that would be an interesting way to kind of see if it can talk. Like, you can recant or if you keyed in a a tone on your hardware, if you could then
Yeah.
emulate that in VST or vice versa,
Yeah.
that would be a really interesting thing to do. I'd like to see
Use your
that.
pedal as a controller for the VST.
Yeah, and then you could save
Brilliant.
those things that you made on the computer into the... Because you could save patches on the Big Sky, so it'd be cool to have that crossover. I would hope... I mean, that was the other thing. There's no, that I've seen, discount for people who own a Big Sky to get the pedal. And I would hope, I mean, if they do start doing communication between the two or something, or if there already is, but I didn't see anything about it, I would hope that they do something to that effect. I mean, that would be a very pro-consumer friendly move, but we'll see.
We'll see. We'd like to see where it goes out. We'd like to know what you guys in the chat think about this kind of thing. I mean, we all know about the what's the phrase? We also know how the greatness of Strymon is. Is this going to be emulated in VST version? You know, is it something that you'd spend $200 on? Let us know.
Yeah, I have a feeling we'll see their other pedals being released in this format too, if it goes well.
I feel that we'll get that way.
I'd like to know what people think about, you know, how much money do you want to be spending on plugins and instruments versus effects? Obviously, you know, Curtis has got a bias there, and I think I'm with him on that one, really. Everyone else feel that way? I mean, you know, I'd rather have an instrument that creates a lot of different sounds, especially if it's sample based or something, compared to a reverb. I mean, a good reverb goes a long way, and you know, but I do have a couple already, sort of thing. So,
I mean,
Yeah.
it is also a case of, I know that it is a case in our world, but the more you spend, generally speaking, the higher the quality. In generally speaking, like, for example, I know that Laug uses it. He posted a screenshot on his Facebook the other day. I know that he uses it, and I mean, he makes a very lush ambient. So it might be a case of it's one of those where you buy the plugin and suddenly you're an ambient king. You know what I mean? Like,
You don't need that one for that though.
True. But like, yeah, it's just maybe. But again, $200 is a hell of a price tag for VST. You can buy, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, you can buy a few entry-level Spitfire VSTs for that and make yourself an orchestral beauty. You know. So.
I was gonna say I would rather put that 200 towards a synth that's recently been announced from Arturia.
Oh, okay.
That's what I would much rather do, because that looks awesome.
Yeah.
But before we do that, Shady Rich says, I've actually started looking at buying more guitar effect pedals this week, putting a wish list together. What effects and what pedals are you considering? I always recommend the Big Sky as a pedal. I don't know how I feel about recommending it as a plugin. We'll see. Because like Curtis mentioned, CPU is an issue. But yeah, let's talk about this Arturia, because this looks pretty cool.
Let's bring this up. So this is the new Minifreak, which again looks incredibly exciting. Yeah. If I just play this through so you can see, we've got here. What's it? I have to go back to my notes for what it actually is. So it's basically a key off here.
I got the notes. I can read them off if you don't have it.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so you kindly wrote, I posted the video, you kindly wrote, it's multiple oscillators, I think it's 2 oscillators, 6 voice polyphony, 12 voice paraphony, 3 digital effects, I think that's 3 you can have at any time together, and there's multiple different effects per, like, effects choice. 2 oscillators per voice, that's it, 2 oscillators per voice, 2 LFOs, and a sequencer, and I would assume it's the same sequencer as their key step and beat step, right?
Yes, completely.
Yeah,
completely
so this is like an evolution of the Minifreak, which Eon Lake always sings the praises of, and this thing looks awesome.
One thing just to clarify from the note you said, so that's 2 LFOs. That's 2 LFOs per oscillator.
Oh, even
that's
better.
2 LFOs per oscillator.
Yeah, I believe it's an all digital synth, right?
Per voice.
Yeah, and I think it's all digital synth, right? There's no like analog circuitry or anything. Yeah.
Does that mean it's duophonic then?
It's polyphonic and paraphonic.
Paraphonic, yeah.
Yeah, it goes 6 voice polyphony, 12 voice paraphony.
And that might be to do with the fact that there isn't necessarily an envelope per voice, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. You want to hit the volume so we can get some sound on the demos? Just start at the beginning because he plays a couple of... I mean, that's good too. This is just the first patch when you open it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very castles in space.
I think what's really cool with the digital aspect is you have so much more you can program and change around and things like that. It's nice to see digital synths making like a comeback-ish, I guess, whatever you want to call it, because it was analog for the long. People were, I want analog, but you do get a lot more options, let's put it, with the digital.
Yeah, definitely. You get a lot more bang for your buck. You get a lot more oscillator types.
Yeah.
You get a lot more voices, generally speaking, because you don't have to build that circuit for every single voice that you need. You know, you get a lot more for your money. They do some things really, really well. You know,
Yeah.
same as analog synths do.
Yeah.
If you're serious about your business, you must buy all of them.
Well, that's what you do, as we know. So, are you thinking about getting this one? You on like?
I don't know. I mean, I've got a Minifreak. I'm well happy with that. I use it on everything I do, everything, without fail. Yeah, I think maybe if this had come out before the Cobalt, before I got the Cobalt 8, maybe. But I've got an 8-voice digital polysynth with built-in effects and so on. I'm only really just scratching the surface with it at the moment. It's a lovely bit of kit. It does make lovely sounds. And my favourite patches so far have been the ones I wrote, which is good. But yeah, if it had been released before that, I'd have been weighing up the two and possibly going Arturia, because I like everything that I've got of theirs. You know, I've got the BeatStep Pro as well. And the plugins that they do are really good. I've not ever seen them put a foot wrong. I would love a poly brute, but doubt I'm ever going to have that kind of money to spend. So yeah, I'd certainly look very kindly on it. And I don't know, how much are these?
That's what I don't know. I was going to ask.
I'm thinking, how much will they be? You know,
here it's €600. Oh, okay. So €600, $600,
That's
or
not too bad.
£560 for you, Ian.
It's not expensive, is it?
So 400 more than the Big Sky plugin.
Now he changes his tune.
400 more than the Big Sky plugin. That's
Obviously it's not no money, but I mean comparatively
for what you're
think
getting.
about what you get compared to some analog rifles and so on.
But I guess it's competing with the Hydrosynth, right?
That's it.
What,
that's
the
what it
Explorer
is
is that the lower? Well, there's a desktop and a tinier keyboard Hydrosynth,
what
right?
is it? It's the Hydrosynth and the Hydra.
There's the Explorer
Mini?
is one of them.
Explorer, that's the one.
Yeah. Is that the Mini with the keyboard? Yeah, I think so. Because I think they just called the desktop one desktop. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to look at the differences between them.
I've been weighing it up because I've on my proverbial wish list for a while. I've had either deciding between either Behringer Deep Mine, the Hydrosynth, and then this came in. It's kind of like the similar kind of fashion on that, and it's a pad synth is what I want. This is like my arpeggiator machine, and like a pad synth or a poly synth is really what I want. This came up. I was like, maybe.
It's calling you, the siren sound of the Minifreak.
Maybe maybe when I got a bit of money coming in, maybe we'll see.
Have you counted your kidneys recently?
Well, I mean, I've got about a quarter of one left. So. I'll have to see.
So what else do we have on the docket for news?
We have got. Okay, so we've got one major. We've got the major from GPU. This is a interesting one. Because it's going to be, excuse me, it's a synth plugin, but it's powered by your graphics card, which in theory means that it should be much more powerful than just running off the hard drive on your computer. This is really interesting because this opens the floodgate for new ways of completely changing the CPU. You know, I'm always banging on about CPU usage.
With an 8-year-old computer, yeah, it makes sense.
So yeah, again, so this is, as you can see, this is similar to your. This is a wavetable synth, similar to your Vital or your Serum or something like that, which both are quite CPU intensive. But this is it's an 8-layer instrument. Which is a cross between the Silent and the Rapture. Now, I don't know if you've ever used a Silent or anything like that, but it's a hell of a lead synth, really good lead plugin. And yeah, this is another one that's coming through. But the technology is what makes this shine. Again, coming from your graphics card. You've got a non-integrated graphics card, you're golden.
Yeah. So you can run that and other synths at the same time. I mean, there's no issues running CPU synths and a GPU synth at the same time, right? Yeah. So that would be great if you could have the choice per synth at some point, you know, to switch. Oh, let's have this one on the GPU, this one on the CPU, just to alleviate some of the stress on the CPU. Like
Yeah.
Diva. Just think,
Like Diva.
if you could throw
Diva is a
Diva,
diva.
just throw Diva to the GPU and everything else on the CPU, and you're golden.
Yeah, exactly. You could just run Diva for days.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What are you thinking, Howard?
Might be an interesting one.
Now he's got to decide what to buy.
I know,
I
right?
don't have a machine with a discrete graphics card that really makes it worthwhile. But you know, if you've got some crazy PCI Radeon gate rig at home for Bitcoin mining or you know, just high-end gaming, then yeah, I mean, it can make a big difference to performance. I'm trying to offload my CPU a fair bit at the moment in what I do, because I find, you know, even with a reasonable machine, you know, you can thrash anything if you know, you go long enough, put enough effects on, and just, you know, don't hold yourself back in any way. I do like the fact that it's, you know, it's one of these ultra modern software-based synths, so it's got loads of different engines and so on. It's going to be capable of a huge range of sounds and whatnot. I take it the fact that you can run it on a GPU is admitting that it's going to be an absolute resource monster.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, really. You know, if they've got a demo option, that might be a very well-used button by a lot of people, really. Sort of run it on your system and see if you can cope with it. And if you've got a decent graphics card, if that helps, it definitely seems like a try before you buy a job for me. I mean, I do like synths like that. I'm not really in the market for anything new at the moment. I'm really trying to focus more.
He says that this week, and then next week I ordered a Minifreak.
Well, I was fiddling around last night, and I got a really strangled tone out of one of my synths, and I just thought, that's awesome. I love it. And the fact that, you know, still stumbling upon stuff after having something for over a year, you know, it's just, that's what I want to do. I want to mine my existing rig as much as I can before I stretch out into other things. I've got some good software synths as well, you know, that I could do more with too, to be fair.
Yeah, man, I'm with you completely. I've been digging into the Volca FM, the original one, not the 2, and plugging it into the SP and messing with the different algorithms and the carrier attacks and decays, and I've been getting some crazy sounds out of it. And I mean, that's like the only synth I've been using lately.
That dusty lo-fi stuff was sounding good.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Really
Dusty Rhodes, right? The best session player in Nashville. David's in the chat. He says, "Hey everyone, how's it going?" David, what's up?
Hey man.
How's it going? One more piece of news, which is a bit of a combo break if we were to take it from Street Fighter. Sunwarper, I feel this is your
yeah, well, that was I had to make good on what I was talking about last week when I talked about Apple. You can play the video, just mute it. They did add a Q&A feature on Apple Music for artists. Because remember, we were looking at that the blog they posted, and I didn't see it. So there you can change, you can put info like your date of birth, which I wouldn't put, your location, things like that. That's public as a musician. That's why I'm saying I wouldn't put it. But there's also this Q&A section where you can link to albums that'll ask you. Can you go back to that Q&A? Just go back a second or two. Right there, pause it. Yeah, right. Well, go back. Yeah, pause it right there where it shows.
There we go.
Okay, so that bottom portion there where it says Q&A, there's 3 questions, and the first one is like, link 3. You don't link. You choose from Apple Music 3 of your favorite albums and give, I think, 200 characters of why. So it's just a way to show like your influence. Maybe connect with audiences like, hey, this is what I listen to. People are, I didn't know you listen to them. I don't hear that at all in your music. You know, it's just something to show who you are. And there's a couple other questions. I'm blanking what they were. I think one is choose your favorite song of your own. So it kind of is a way to promote like a song that you just released or something, and you can explain why you chose it. And then I think the other one is something like describe a musical event of yours or something, or like a memorable moment with music for you. So it's just a way to add a little more context about who you are on Apple Music. I think it's kind of cool. I'd like to see Spotify and the others do something like this. But I had talked about it last week and it wasn't in that blog post, so I wanted to show, yes, it is there. Now, I will give a caveat. I did this, and I opened Apple Music. I'm not a subscriber, and I searched my name, and I did not see anything that I put there. It just wasn't there. Maybe it takes time, or maybe it's, I don't know, still some back-end issues or something. But it is something worth checking out.
That could work. Yeah, completely. I mean, I haven't touched it myself. I've got Spotify for artists, but I don't have Apple Music for artists because, well, it's just Apple Music, isn't it? But
Someone could say the same about Spotify. Well, it's just Spotify, isn't it?
I get so much anxiety just dealing with one, like set of data that if I was to bring another set of data in, I think my brain would explode.
Yeah, no, I got you. I just it's interesting that they added it. It's cool to see, and I wonder if others will follow suit. Just the race.
I remember the figures, but Apple Music as a proportion of the streaming market in America is big.
It is. Yeah. It is. It's a lot bigger.
A lot of people. When you just, I remember reading the number of how many people that actually is. Obviously, it's in the millions.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah. Probably should give it some love.
Yeah, it takes a second to connect.
Good. It's a really good thing. Like the idea of fleshing out the story, fleshing out the artist, bringing it home, so to speak. It's a cool idea. It's a really cool idea.
I might not put my date of birth or my bank account details.
I wouldn't recommend any of that. I will say, if anybody wants us to do a little tutorial on how to connect to Apple for Artists and do those Q&As or anything like that, let us know. We'll gladly do one. It's pretty easy to do, but like I said, they're pretty slow with a lot of things. So that's why I don't know if that Q&A that I filled out is still being posted. Like, it took months just to get the image that I put up. Yeah. And it takes a while to get, when you do register and connect, it takes a little while before they respond. So that is one thing they could improve, is their response time, for sure.
When did you
do that's fair.
Say again, Ian Lake?
When was it you did that?
The Q&A part?
Yeah.
Sometime this week, because that's when I saw. I just was like, let me, because I've never, as we talked about last week, I've never actually logged on to Apple for Artists on desktop. I've always done the phone, the iOS app, and the iOS app doesn't really give much. So it was sometime this week, probably Tuesday, Wednesday, and that's when I threw it in our little drive file. So I'll keep everyone updated if it does pop up. I may even email them if they even respond, but I am curious. Like, I filled it out, where'd it go? Because it's there on Apple for Artists. It's there, like the answers I put. It's just not, and maybe it's because I'm not a subscriber. It's not there when I look at it on Apple Music.
Well, I've not changed mine since it was in beta, so it's gone live since I last made a change to my profile. So I don't know what the times are like.
I'd check it out. I definitely recommend checking it out. And like you're saying, if they have a huge market in America, it's just a way to put extra stuff and maybe reach more people. And, as we always talk about, when companies or these social media or streaming platforms do something new, they usually promote that and show it to more people. So if you have 5 seconds to fill out a thing, it might be worth it just to possibly get more reach on
Especially if you're the only one doing it for a while.
Yeah.
Completely and utterly. That is the end of the news, as they say. That was a lot of gear, and a really interesting piece coming out from Apple Music. You guys let us know in the chat or watching back any particular favourites, anything to take away from that. It's all that gear. I mean, like you say, nearly Christmas, and my wallet is going to get absolutely destroyed.
Yeah. How much of this floats your boat? I mean, I like hearing about the software and the hardware, even if I'm not actually in the market. And the same goes for like the changes to platforms and so on. I think the Apple Music one's a little bit odd in the sense that you can't see it on the mobile platform, and I think they've missed a trick there. But maybe that's coming. It's just behind the desktop. You never know.
Yeah, and Arturia did announce a bunch of other gear. They announced a ton of stuff. They've got the Minilab Mark III, couple new plugins, I think. So if there's anything that interests you of that, let us know in the chat. We'll talk about it.
Very much so.
I just bought a Minilab too. I was like, really? Come on. The next day they go, here's the Minilab 3. Like,
Well, it's at that time of the show. Halfway through the show, our patrons are invited to come on the show with us. It's, again, part of the thing if you're a patron. And Hydro Fighter has joined us once again. He's in the lobby, gents. Should we let him in?
Hey, you haven't denied him yet, have you? Or
I haven't
rejected
denied him yet. I'm
Okay.
being a willful gatekeeper.
That's
today.
good. That's good. You're improving, I guess. Or our pacing's improved.
Very
Yo,
much
what's
so.
up, Hydro Fighter?
Hey, dude.
Hey guys,
How's it going,
what's
man? You
going
right?
on? Can you hear
Hello?
me?
Yeah, we got you. What's
Yeah,
up?
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
How are
Arturia is a big conversation piece this week, and I bought the Key Step Pro.
Nice.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah, it's awesome.
Really flexible bit of kit, isn't it?
It is very intuitive, very easy to use. Like what you were talking about earlier, Eon, it's pulling the load off of the DAW a little bit because all of the sequencing is happening with inside of the keyboard. Arpeggiators, step recording loopers. I mean, that's why I got it, because I want to pull it out of the DAW.
Yeah. And there's I find it's one of those ones because of the way that you do it with the knob twisting for your notes and so on. It's open to happy accidents a fair bit as well. I find.
Yeah, and it's modular friendly too. So
Yeah.
as you know,
You
a
need
couple like a year or
CV.
two down the road, when I start going that direction,
Mm.
I've got some controllers to work with it.
Yeah, mine's set with the modular gear, but it receives MIDI clock from everything else, so that it's in time.
I feel like that'd be good. I've often looked at one of them. They're very slick and shiny kind of things. So I'll have to see. So is your kind of moving out of the door, Hydro Fighter? Is it coming to its completion, or is there more to go?
No, I'm not going to add any more gear to what I intend on doing with the next stuff. So basically, I've got the Key Steps Pro, the Beat Step Pro, the SFC 60, which is for the Juno, and then I'm using the APC 40 as the mixer for everything.
I'll wait to
That's
start
it.
sitting.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm keen to see this new visual side of
Yeah,
Hydro
that'll be
Fighter that
cool.
you mentioned last week, and
It'll
see
be a
all this
little.
behind
It'll be
it.
a little while before I start throwing some vids out there, but that's the plan.
I can't wait. That'd be really fun. That'd be really fun.
performance.
Yeah,
Completely.
that's the
We're
plan.
all leaning a bit in that direction at the moment, aren't we?
We just got to get there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, we are here for the round robin. This round robin actually comes to us from Eon Lake because I forgot this week. So Eon Lake, Eon Lake. So you want to
Eon to the rescue.
completely remarkable. All thrown out. Eon Lake. What is? Tell us the story of this round robin. Kick us off.
So, this is coming from a personal place, because obviously I've had a lot of issues finding enough time for music recently, which at a critical time for me is not helpful with keeping the old momentum going. And I've been getting quite frustrated about not being able to make progress. It's frustrating because it's one of the only things I want to do, and it's one of the things that I don't always have time for, and that's not ideal in anyone's life. But the question is about coping with momentum when you don't have a lot of time for doing music. I mean, how do you keep your enthusiasm up? How do you keep the quality of your music up? How do you modify your approach to try and address some of the negative aspects of that situation? What do you do? Anyone got any tips? I've got a few myself. There are things that I do, but I would very interested to hear how much of a problem this is for other people, and what you do if that's the case. What's your thinking? What's your strategy?
Sunwarper, why don't you kick us off this week?
Hold
We'll
on,
kick you in the-
I'm writing, so you
You're
or
writing.
Hydro Fighter kick off. Yeah, I'm writing mine out because I want to mention each detail. So I'm being quite formal. So if someone could take up the, I don't want to forget these. It's important. And David in the chat says preach, and he says great question. So yeah, we'll dig into it. And David,
Tell us,
anybody else
David.
in the chat, if you have anything you want to add, or as we talk about it, anything you want to talk more upon or expand upon, let us know. Anyways, I'll
completely.
throw it to you guys while I finish jotting these ideas down.
Go on then, Hydro Fighter, kick us off.
Go on, mate.
God, I don't think I really bump into that scenario that much. So
Right.
you're
That's
saying
it. You're out of here.
you don't
Boot him! Boot him!
when you don't have much time, but we still want to keep momentum going. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and it's also your, your morale, your spirit, the music. It can dip a bit if you're not really getting a chance to do it. You never really get a foot in, and life's getting in the way.
Sometimes I'll say that when I get in a funk, in a way, when you're trying to do things, is I just go do something else. I try to do something. You know how you get so focused on a project that's all you want to do is you want to finish that and you do it. And I sometimes feel like I just got to clear my head by doing something musically in a different direction, and then circle back to what it is. Fortunately for me right now, I am in the total opposite boat. I have got an open door of just ideas coming in, how I want to execute things. I feel really relaxed about my approach, and I'm really excited about the direction I'm going.
You're in the flow, man.
I mean, next week,
just twist the knife there.
with all the possibilities of a clean slate.
Although, 3 months ago when I was trying to finish up the last release, I was getting that burnout though. It's like, I want to get done with this so I can move on and not have to worry about this. And I mean, sometimes it's just like a job. Sometimes you're just like, I got to do it. And sometimes at my job, I think I'm going to do the worst stuff first, so that way I can just roll downhill from after there. That's my 2 cents.
I like it. That's a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
It's a good way.
As usual, from Mr. Fighter.
I love how you just dug that knife in though to Eon. Like that was well done.
Yeah.
Curtis,
I
how
don't
about
have
you?
that problem. I'm feeling really good right now.
Yeah, I'm great. So that's your issue. You deal with it.
I think you'll find it's an amateur problem.
Curtis, what about you? What are your thoughts on it?
In a similar vein, like I frequently, I've got about 5 or 6 projects going on at one time, and the big one like Maroon, for example, I was like in that for about 2 months straight, and now I sent it off to you to be mastered. I've got 4 other projects or so to be looking at, and if I'm not feeling it on a certain day, I'll be like, okay, it's a case of what kind of mood am I in? Am I in a noise kind of album? Am I in a drum and bass mood? Am I in an ambient mood? That kind of thing. And then if I'm really just not feeling it, if I'm really not feeling like a production side of it, I go, what haven't I done in a while? What haven't I used in a while? What haven't I utilized? So, for example, I've got the Volca sample and the Volca bass sitting there on the shelf, and I've got the Behringer TD3 sitting there as well, which I think I've just like, I haven't used them in a while, so it's like I'll plug them in and I'll play with them for a little bit, and with no real kind of outcome or desire to create anything other than just noise or weird sounds like I normally do. The voices in my head say something, and then I do it, and they don't. Then they praise me. So it's kind of how that works. And like, I just kind of push things through and kind of go from there. So I think the momentum, for me at least, the momentum of, or the lack of momentum, or losing that momentum, comes when there's like this end goal. Like with Marooned, it was like I have to finish Marooned by a certain time because I want to get it out in January, that kind of thing. But if I've got no end goal, if I've got no kind of deadline, so to speak, it's pure creativity. And I'll always cycle back to that route. I'll always cycle back to that. Or failing that, I'll just pick up the 6 string and I won't even plug in. Like going right back to like learning, like literally like playing one note, one string at a time, just kind of seeing the harmonies ride with each other, and kind of intrinsically get inspiration from that. That tends to be what I tend to do in that situation.
What about if you just don't get the time in the studio, but you're full of ideas? There's loads of stuff you want to do.
Ableton Note.
Ableton Note.
Everyone's stealing my thunder today. David in the chat stealing my thunder big time. I feel you, dude. And
Yeah, so David said, I have a business and family, so I really appreciate the problem, but definitely celebrating others' music is important to me. He also says, I definitely buy stuff to fill the void.
I like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not feeling the time, I mean, I always had that feeling where I don't have enough time because I'm always doing something else. Or
There's
always
never
another
enough time.
It's never enough time.
And
I think
that, as you know, I've said it before, is the main point, right? It's not like you're waiting for some time in your life when there'll be loads of time for music. There's never going to be loads of time for music.
No, you got to make the time
Real.
if you want to.
in that situation, it's like, okay, so I look at the week. I had it about 2 weeks ago or last week. Oh, it was last week because things happened last week. I was like, I haven't done anything all week, and I was looking at why, where is it? And it's because my schedule has basically gone out the window. and so it's completely changed. I'm all out of kilter, and so I pick up this pace, and I go, okay, I didn't do anything last night, so the first thing I'm going to do while I have my morning coffee, for example, I'm just going to sit and play a few chords. Like, I actively, instead of going and sitting out for 20 minutes with my journal, I'll sit for 20 minutes in here. I'll find those pockets, or if I'm on the tram, just key something in, that kind of thing.
Planning. If you're not in the studio, plan what you're going to do when you are in the studio.
And get a proverbial whiteboard and keep it with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sunwarper?
Yeah, so I think one of the most important things to remember is there's always going to be waves of feeling like Hydro Fighter and feeling like Eon Lake in these current instances where you're on it and you've got too many ideas to pour out. They're just pouring out, or nothing's working. And I think it's important to not beat yourself up when you're feeling down and like you can't get anything done, and also when you're in those moments where you're feeling really good, remember that, because then in those other times you can look back on that and be like, I was there before, I'm gonna get there again. Like, it's just the natural flow. Sometimes you flow, sometimes you don't. A couple other things though, like when I'm really not feeling it, or after a release and I like don't have ideas or something, I'll just completely change everything. Like work only with the pocket operator, just chopping up samples that I've put out through the speakers or something, you know, just completely shake things up, or only work with the circuit and the SP. Like that's what I've been doing with those DiBiase's diners, is that I'm only using the SP, recording everything into it. There's no quantize. Like, I'm trying to shut the quantize off even on the drums and things like that, and it just gets my mind working in a way that it doesn't normally, so it starts putting me in that flow state where I'm like, oh, okay, this is clicking, this is working, let me do that. And that's one of my favorite ways. What's up?
Or on bits of kit, you can speed things up a bit as well, really. If you're not bouncing from different software, different hardware, the more you can do in one place like that, it's kind of economical with time as well, right?
I would argue both, because if you're really stuck with ideas and something's not clicking, when you keep changing it up, you'll discover new things from a synth or something like that. Like you said, you were using that one synth and you got this crazy sound from it that you've never gotten before. So sometimes it is good to switch things up, but yeah, it's also good to just be like a master of one piece of gear, and you can use that like crazy. I also wanted to mention, I've talked about this with social media content, but batch when you are feeling the vibe. Like batch music, batch whatever you can.
Rinse it.
Yeah.
All it's got. Yeah.
Yeah, just get everything you can out of it, and then if nothing is clicking, one thing that I like to do is watch a video about either chords or music theory, something like that, and I'll take one little bit of it and just put it in the DAW, like a MIDI scale or something like that, and just start messing with it and changing it around, just to kind of get my brain working. Again, for me, everything is just get the brain working in ways that it's not used to, so that it's novel, so you'll get into that flow state and things start to click.
Well, and as we all try to go more towards a live execution, I mean, ideally, I look at what I'm going to do as executing it faster, being done with the song faster, not dwelling on it so much, and not thinking about production so much, but really thinking about the song more at the time I'm writing it, and not thinking about the song 3 months after I wrote it.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I like things to be more instinctive than thought out. I think you can get a bit stuck thinking sometimes, especially when if you do feel something's dragging, thinking about it is probably not gonna
you get in a self-fulfilling prophecy. One of the things I wrote actually was don't worry about quality, because you mentioned worrying about quality, and I was just, don't worry about it, just make, and then later when you're in that mixing phase or whatever, just go from there. And I've actually, some of my favorite songs lately have been technically terrible mixes of like the pocket operator songs I've been making. They're like horrible in terms of the frequency spectrum and stuff, but they just work like that, and it's fun, and that's what matters. I'm not releasing them, but I might put them on YouTube or something, but it just gets me thinking, and then I could always put that sample into Logic or into the SP and add other things to make it more frequency appropriate and things like that. But just have fun. That's the most important part. And as David says, 30 minutes a day is better than no minutes. That is how I dig out. Yeah, I mean, just if you can, like Curtis, in the morning coffee, just make a couple chords or something. You're getting that mind in a musical pattern and reinstating and reinforcing that idea that you can create every day.
With the introduction of the Ableton Note, you're going to be sorted. That's what.
Well, yeah. You see, these are my strategies. So this is something that I've struggled with a number of times. Time is an issue. I am time poor. I don't have a lot of time for this. I don't have a lot of time to mess around, and that's why I do a number of the things that I do. So that's why the whiteboard exists. It's where my ideas live. It's my go-to list when I don't know what to do. Just pick something and do that. Simple, really. I'm agreeing a lot with David in the chat. He's stealing my thunder a bit, really. But, 30 minutes a day, it's about time hacking for me, basically. And things like Ableton Note let me time hack. So there's a limited amount of time that I spend in here. So I make sure that when I'm in here, I always bounce out a mix, and it always goes into an application where I make notes on it. And I listen to it out of the studio and I make notes on it, what I'm going to do next. I've got all the next steps planned out. So I'm never looking for something to do when I'm in here. I've got a list of things to do, a list of songs to work on. I'll work on one. If it's not happening, I'll just switch to another one, do what's waiting on that one. That's only part of it, though. It's also about the head. The thing is, when you've only got a tiny amount of time to do music, it's really difficult to get into a creative mindset. And we talked about this in the past as well. And doing things like meditation can help. But if you're busy with life and you're not able to get in the studio, you obviously don't have time to meditate either. You're not driving or something. Do you know what I mean?
Don't meditate and drive.
Yeah, don't meditate and drive. Nirvana or bust. What I try and do is ramp up, and that's like get in the mood. And so I'm talking about shows like Oral Dogma, Enclosure 3, Dark Train, and so on. If I know I'm going to be doing a session and I'm able to, I've got time, I get some of these shows on, or I listen to people's latest releases and so on. I try and warm myself up and move my head from the day stuff and all the things that have to be done and the internal monologue and into a more peaceful place, a more artistic sort of frame of mind, so that when I do stand here with a list of things that I've got to do that I've planned already, I'm ready to execute it in a way that where I'm a little bit nearer the state of mind that I need to be. I think I need to just play something for 5 minutes to try and get more into that state than I do, but I try and ramp myself up and I try and ramp myself down again afterwards by listening to things that are nearly done. Reminding myself.
Do you have time to listen to those things during your busy day?
Yeah, I do, but I also try and sort of finish the session after the session by reminding myself that I've actually completed a lot of stuff and it is going okay, to focus on the positives. So sort of ease myself into it with some inspiring tunes, have a plan and execute on that plan in the little time that I do have, and then wind myself down with some, it's going all right, you're making some good music, just keep at it. And time hacking, it's like David said in the chat, 20 minutes a day, half an hour a day. It's surprising what you can do with it, even if it is just a tiny bit.
Well, you make the most of it. It's all time management, And Curtis, what were you going to say? You said, I think, and
you do it every day.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that you do it every day. And in terms of like shifting the mindset, again, I'm not the same as you, Ian. Like, I'll meditate before I come in and do my stuff in the name of transition, transitioning from the to the day to the creativity. But if I'm running late or if I'm having a day where I'll go the other way, as in I won't let myself move out of that space for the whole entire day. So like if I get up in the morning and I've got to go to work, I will do similar to you. I'll look at like my unfinished tracks in the morning with my coffee or with my tea, or for example, and then I'll go about my day, but I'm not really thinking about my day. I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing or what the job's doing. I'm thinking about those tracks, or I'm thinking about what I've got to do when I get back in this space tonight. So it's like my brain is still on this like trajectory where it's going, and everything else is kind of like on autopilot kind of thing. And then I come back to here, and it's like, okay, well, this basically that time didn't exist. I compartmentalize that, and it kind of comes back through. It might be a little bit extreme, I don't know, but it works for me.
Well, I guess it just depends on your day and the type of stuff you have to do. And like David says, not doing the one thing that makes you feel special can be mentally tough. I had a discussion with a friend last night about this. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's not
You
much
have to
more
do
to
it.
say to that. It can be, but you just have to figure out, like, carve a space for it and make the most of those 30 minutes, like Jan like was saying, every single day. That adds up over time, and maybe as time goes on, you can add more time, or there's weekends where you can get more, you know, it's just making the most of what you've got, because that's what you're dealing with, you know.
Collect tools that help you do that as well, you know. So this is why taking notes on the go is really good for me. If I'm sat for an hour because my kid's doing something, you know, that's an hour. That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah,
If you don't have enough time in the studio, you need to start using some of these, don't you?
completely.
Become an insomniac. That,
Yeah,
that's a great way to do it.
tons of
Lying
time.
down every night, hours doing nothing.
Yeah, there's that one sleep cycle where you can sleep 20 minutes like every 2 hours. You could try that.
But you know,
See how that works out for you. You know?
I like to listen to songs sometimes when I'm working on them just before I go to sleep and go, right, go on then, finish it while I'm asleep. I tell
See, I won't sleep then. I just think about it. And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
me
what if
too.
I do this? What if I do this? Then I just want to get into the studio. And it's like, I
know,
can't.
I don't switch off. I usually fall asleep listening to it.
Oh, see,
And
I can't do
like
that.
And it's like, right, push it to the subconscious.
That's
Mm.
impressive.
Job
Then
anyway.
you wake up and you know, that's that chord. That's what I need to do. Yeah,
I don't know. If something good happens in the next session, then I pretend it's because of
Yeah,
this
it's
stuff.
from the sleep. Yeah.
excellent.
I've got no idea where it came from, but I'm going to say that because it makes it sound like I know what I'm doing then.
We'd be curious to know what you guys in the chat. Thank you, David, for your comments. It's really interesting to hear what your thoughts about all this. And yeah, if you're watching back, what do you think? Where are you with this? I mean, what do you do to keep your motivation going and carve out the time that you need in order to be creative? Because it is important. We'd be keen to know what you think.
Useful skills either way for any musician.
Very much so. For the final part of the show today, gentlemen, should we slide across to Sunwarper's marketing minutes, which we still haven't got a name for, but
I think you just named it as we've been calling it. So we do have a name. Are we happy with said name?
I
Maybe
think what
not.
we've got is a running joke where we say that every week.
so Sunwarper, what's going on with YouTube, man?
Well, I posted a video. You don't have to show it. We can put it in the link from Think Media. They were talking about some recent, I think it was a bit of a leak in terms of like what YouTube is planning to do with YouTube. But the biggest thing was that they seem to be going real big on podcasts and like long form content. And they're doing a whole new YouTube section called podcasts. So it seems like they're going to try to get that piece of the Spotify pie. I guess YouTube has always done podcasts, but now they're going pretty hard on it. As you can see in the video, youtube.com/podcast. So it's pretty cool to see if you like that kind of long form content. And then one of the other things that's interesting, and I think this video talks about it, you can switch it off. We'll put a link to it, Josh or Curtis. I think the biggest thing is the whole shorts and long form content. You would think they're connected, right? That the algorithms are similar, and if you're doing well on shorts, that means you're doing well as a channel, right? I mean, that makes sense to me. But no, that's not the case. Shorts and long form algorithms are completely separate. If you do well on shorts, that doesn't mean anything for the rest of your channel. They are working, and they've said it. One of the YouTube creators or designers even straight up said that the short form algorithm and long form algorithm are not connected in any way, but they're working on it. And I think one of their first steps was what we talked about last week, and we have a short video of that section if you want to check it out, about making YouTube shorts from your pre-existing long form content. So you can just go to a video of yours that's 16:9, hit the little shorts button, and it'll create a short. You can choose the section and all that, and it makes a short, and it links to the other video. So now they're starting slowly to connect these two algorithms. Where that leads to, only YouTube really knows, I suppose. But it is interesting to see, and I don't know if you guys have been experiencing this, but I've been seeing bigger Instagram creators talking about Instagram reach and the algorithm just tanking. And I've noticed it. So I'd be curious if any of you guys noticed a decrease in algorithmic.
I think a lot of people are saying that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be the common theme that's
Yeah.
going through. Just a massive drop in reach, massive drop in kind of connectivity and seeing content that you want to see. Really.
Yeah. And I mentioned that, well, first of all, usually we cover something that Adam Mosseri, this Instagram head, will talk about in terms of new things with the Instagram. I haven't seen him posting any of that. Maybe I'm not even seeing his reels because of the decrease in the algorithm. But I think the reason I keep talking about YouTube lately is, as you know, it's another big corporation and all that stuff. But I like YouTube for its longer form content and things like that. And I think it's a good place to be. It's a little more consistent. It's one of, if not the biggest search engine, which is not the case for Instagram at the moment. So I've been watching and looking at a lot more stuff about YouTube while this whole Instagram thing is going on. So I wanted to mention that. If anybody in the chat has experienced these Instagram things, let us know. I've seen like big creators talk about, I'm burnt out. Everything I'm posting is going nowhere. Things like that. Hold on. So I think just moving to YouTube, if that's something you like, is cool, and knowing all these different things about shorts and long form is good to know. Yes, Jan, like what were you going to ask or say?
I just think it's interesting to know that from a programming perspective that the algorithms are separate, and
yeah,
it's not a huge surprise to me personally, but then maybe that's just because I listen to you, dude. But I suppose there's also this algorithm, that people do catch you on shorts and are interested in some way enough, they can still, click on you and look at other stuff that you might look at. I mean, maybe the algorithm isn't necessarily going to automatically serve it up for them, but I mean, people, decide for themselves what they want to look at as well. And presumably if they do that enough, then the algorithm will work in that regard. But, there's a lot of thought that goes into sort of trying to appease the God algorithm, and sometimes it's just being or doing all right in one of them might be enough just to get you the attention that you might need from people who could potentially be interested in what you do. Just sound positive for a bit, I love the way you said you made a short about shorts.
It wasn't actually a short, it's a shorter clip of ADSN of just that segment. We are doing shorts as well. We've been testing on Audionautic multiple formats, so we're doing clips from the show that are the horizontal normal clips, but they're shorter, but they're longer form, and 5 to 10 minutes, something like that, just on one specific topic from the episode. So you hit a different algorithm, so people that want to watch full podcasts can watch it. If they're searching for certain topics or just want to see a shorter bit, that's there. And then we're also testing the shorts because we want to see what the algorithm for shorts does. I've been doing shorts on my channel, and as I mentioned last week, I've been doing shorts from my longer form content where I cut it on YouTube, and those seem to perform the best because it's the newest thing YouTube's doing, is that you can make these shorts directly on it, so they'll promote it.
Yeah.
Well, the shortest of shorts seems to be doing quite well.
Yeah, the 15-second ones seem like the way to go.
It's doing quite well. It's always interesting. It's a race. It's a race. TikTok kind of powered through a new kind of format, and it seems to be the race to the middle now. Instagram are doing it, YouTube are doing it. YouTube, as you say, because of where Instagram is kind of headed, and by extension where Facebook's headed by that as well, seems to be YouTube is this new growing, burgeoning. I mean, it's always been a social media of such, but now they're bringing in the more of the personal touch to it all. It's just a race to the middle, and that they seem to be winning the race at the moment.
YouTube also introduced handles, so you can now be at Sunwarper on YouTube.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool.
So I will say, if you have a YouTube channel and you haven't created a name, because most channels you can, instead of just being youtube.com/55 gazillion numbers and stuff, you can set it to a name like Audionautic or Sunwarper or Hydro Fighter. If you haven't done that, I would recommend doing it, because that will become the handle, and I think there can only be one handle on YouTube of something. I think, if that's how handles like on any of these others work. So I would definitely go and change that. If anybody wants us to show you how to do it, we can make a short.
Hey. So yeah, thank you very much for that, and we'd like to know what you think about this. Have you started utilizing YouTube since we started talking about it a bit more? Let us know, because we're interested to see what data and what kind of ideas you've been getting from it.
Yeah,
completely enough. So, unless that brings us to the end of everything that we have here on the docket for today. Sunwarper, is there anything you'd like to say before we depart?
I just want to mention, if you're looking for any cool new electronic music, we have an Audionautic Radio playlist where we put tons of stuff. We update it weekly. It's got a lot of good music. You're welcome to submit. You can DM myself, Sunwarper, or Audionautic on Twitter if you want to submit. But I'd love for you to check it out and give it a listen. It helps everyone grow. As we always say, together we grow.
And it's good for all those uses I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That's what we need. Hydra Fighter, any final words?
Nothing from me.
Cool.
Just happy to see you all again.
Yeah, it's good to have you here.
It's nice to hang out. It's a little piece of, it's a little anchor around the chaos of existence. It's lovely. It's nice.
That's like almost nihilistic, but we'll take it.
Okay. Yeah. We'll be back next week, and we'll, at the same time, doing the same stuff. Well, talking about different stuff, but in a similar fashion. It's always good fun. Thank you ever so much for joining us. If you are vibing with what we're doing here, please consider telling people about it. You know, word of mouth and all that stuff is how we grow. You know, and we'd like to grow. Reach more people, reach more sympathetic ears. That'd be really nice.
Synthetic, I thought you said. I was going to say, well, we do love synthesizers. Yeah, leave a like. It helps a ton. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And we're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're going to be doing some newer formats on there. So definitely head over there and follow if you want to check it out.
Very much so. Very much so. So yeah, so we'll see you in about a week's time. There's also more content like Binary Stars if you're into that, if you can't get enough from that. That's our Sunwarper and I's slow show in a way, where we take a look at different tracks. We really hone in on a couple of tracks as opposed to looking at a kind of a big broad spectrum of things. It's good fun. We have a chat, shoot the shit. It's good fun, really.
Yeah, we always look at it as a musician, like inspect or go through the song as a musician, like, oh, how did they create this part? Those drums are really cool. Like, did they do this or that? So if you like to see that kind of stuff and you want to take part in it, check it out.
Completely. Enough there. So until next time, thank you very much.
Thanks for watching.